institution. It has some rules for streamers and viewers, but it's not every single rule. It's not really in the weeds, but it's very aspirational as well. It's about what do we want the community to be.
I don't think that's very controversial at all. I think the Twitch community is pretty much the best one there is. So the reason you're here to talk about the community guidelines today is because there have been recently made some changes to the community guidelines, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we've made changes to the community guidelines before. Okay. When we started Twitch, Twitch started with one really powerful idea. Twitch is a place for gamers to come together and watch gaming content from all over the world. And over time, the community got really passionate about exploring other areas as well. And so we decided to kind of experiment with that. And the first big experiment we did was the Bob Ross Marathon. Classic Twitch moment. Right?
Yeah.
So from there, we opened a new category. We opened creative. And everyone started to just really love that the creative community could be not really all about games, but embody that same spirit that we found in the other gaming areas of the site. And so we asked our community, we actually did a survey last year, what would you guys like to see the future be? Do you guys want us to stay just gaming, or would you guys like to have the freedom to create non-gaming content? And the response was really resounding. An overwhelming majority of people really wanted to go and have the freedom to explore, to bring different aspects of their personality to different types of content. And because of that, we've got a lot of really new, awesome categories on Twitch that weren't there before. From tabletop gaming to obviously the creative. We got music, fitness, and also IRL.
Yoga,
yeah, obviously,
fitness,
the point is kind of that Twitch is made by the people who use it, right? That the community influences how we make decisions here.
Exactly. And so as we've kind of entered into this new non-gaming content world, a lot of people have asked us to kind of clarify some things about the guidelines. So we've heard a lot of feedback from the community that the community, you guys want 3 new things. You want more
oh, come on, dude. Are they censored me?
Clarity. You want, and in some areas, you want more strength. And so we know it's taken some time to get here, but to give people a little insight into how we kind of come up with this, we have teams from all over Twitch. Moderation, legal, marketing, product teams, engineers. Then we also talk with the whole company about where we want to go. And then we also work with people in the community, and we work with people that are third parties, that are experts in their field in moderation and community building and all those other things. So we've been working together with all of those people over the past several months to make sure that the updates that we come up with are really strong. And this is just going to be the first set. We have a lot of other ones that are still in the oven, but since these updates we felt were really strong, we wanted to get them into the community as soon as possible.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is basically that just how huge of a job this is and how much that people here seem to care that it gets done right.
Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest things about being, working at Twitch is how many other people that are team members are also members of the Twitch community and really passionate.
I'm watching the
and so
stream.
that means that like we get a lot of really diverse and interesting perspectives on things. And
I'm watching it now.
Everybody uses the platform. They're not talking about it yet. Community member, they've all got a really good thing. There's so many meetings where we're like, what? Wow, we didn't think about that. And then we're like, well, that means we have to rethink. Oh my God. And so that's how the process kind of works.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of planned improvements always for Twitch and for things like community guidelines. But I know today you're here to talk about 2 specific ones, right?
Yeah, so in the future we're going to be covering, we're going to do probably another one of these about IRL as a whole category and some changes that we want to make there. Those are we're still working on them. And we're also going to get into the weeds on enforcement. So what happens when you break the community guidelines? Some of the things today we talk about are going to touch about a little bit, but we're actually rethinking it from like a holistic, like whole new methodology. And so we're still working through that because there's obviously a lot of different things to cover. And then there's a bunch of other small things that we're going to kind of change over time too. But today we are going to talk about anti-harassment, hateful conduct, as well as sexual content policies.
Here we go.
Ooh, okay, let's dive into that. Let's start with anti-harassment. Tell me a little bit about why that's an important area to update and some of the changes that have been made.
Right. So harassing people and being hateful, to be clear, has never been allowed on Twitch, right? But the guidelines, we wanted to add a lot more clarity so that people could really understand what was going on there. Our vision, and this is a vision, we know we're not 100% there yet, right, is for everyone to be able to come to Twitch with their full, authentic selves and be free from harassment and hate.
Oof, yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Like, that's what we want for the community. Now, we understand that that's a long road, and honestly, we might never get there. Like, we're probably going to be sitting here having a lot more conversations about the steps that we're taking to make sure that we're doing that. But today, we have some changes that we think are really good steps forward in that. And so to start with, we added a lot of clarifications to what actually is harassment. You can actually go visit our new help article, and we have some things listed out there. And they're things that like most people are not going to be surprised about. So like things like bullying, telling someone to kill themselves, doxing someone, malicious rating, and even calling somebody names or harassing things like cam girl. The full article has the whole list of things. We wanted to add a lot of clarity.
That's great, because if someone has the question of, is what I'm doing harassment, it's good to have a place to go and find out, I suppose, if it's not clear to somebody.
Yes, absolutely. So we want broadcasters to be empowered to know that, like, to be able to say, okay, I know what I'm doing is within the rules. And a lot of times people were kind of finding themselves doing things and they found themselves on the wrong end of the law, so to speak, and they weren't really sure about that. So we wanted to kind of take that out as a problem area.
Right, totally.
This is not good.
The other big thing we've done is we've added a concept called hateful conduct. Previously, we had a section that was about hate speech, and there is a list of sort of what we call protected classes that that were protected under this sort of hate speech guideline. But what we realized is that it's not always just the words you use, but it's how you use them. It's the context and the intent of how someone's
intent Greek.
And actions can actually be hateful as well. So we've added a new guidelines in that area to protect people from those things. And we actually have added, we've expanded our list of protected classes to, okay, we have that on screen. So you guys can read all of these here. It's race, religion, gender, gender identity,
I called Dr.
ethnicity,
Disrespect
disability,
old ones.
national origin, sex and sexual orientation, age,
for.
medical condition, physical characteristics,
so
and
done,
veteran
right?
status are all of the ones that are currently in the guidelines.
And so when we say protected classes, what does that mean?
That means that if your conduct, which would be inappropriate, and it's specifically directed towards that group of people or a person because of that characteristic that they have about themselves, that we may deem that hateful conduct.
Gotcha.
Which is going to be sort of a step above the other categories that we already have for enforcement. So the other big change that we've made is that if the admins deem that you have been hateful and that your conduct is hateful, it's going to result in an immediate, indefinite suspension. We're not going to give people second chances on this stuff. This is really, really, really important. Hate has no place in the Twitch community whatsoever. And we want to make that really clear to everyone, and we want to make everyone really clear about the consequences of being hateful. We do not want you as we simply don't want you as part of the community if you're going to be hateful.
So now we get all these unique reports, and I know that you're also giving admins kind of a good framework to work within and a lot more information to use. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So we receive thousands of reports a day from all over the world on broadcasts, on broadcasters, on chat conduct, right? And each of these is unique. And there's a really, really wide range of things that we have to cover. The admins actually have a book that's like this thick of all of the different things that like we've kind of come up with and like how they're supposed to deal with that. What we've wanted to do with this update is give them a framework to incorporate intent and context into there. And so why are we doing that, right? Well, if you think about it, like when the admins get a report, they have to think about, is this okay? Is this not okay, right? And the stuff that's in the middle that's hard to make a judgment call on, that's what we call the gray area. And so we're really trying to provide them a roadmap for getting out of the gray area in a really important way. So this could be two things. This could be somebody maybe says something as an expletive that might be, if was directed at an individual personally, might be hateful conduct, but we know they just kind of stubbed their toe and were yelling something out. Still not okay, right? Like, well, we might issue a warning or might have a conversation with them, but it's not going to trigger, potentially wouldn't trigger automatic, ejection. On the other side, there's when people are doing actions, maybe they're doing something that's using coded language, right? Maybe they're saying something that they know a certain segment of people will hear. The common term for this is dog whistling. Maybe if the person's dog whistling,
dog whistler
on paper
Greek?
it doesn't look like they did anything offensive, but anyone that's watching, that is like listening for that, can tell that they're doing something. So it also allows the admins to
Like
take
an
action in
enabler,
that regard
right?
as well. And we think that that's really
Whistler.
important to start to like
No, I'm
reduce
done
where
with
that
that
gray
shit. I
area
don't
is
do
when
it
it comes to
anymore.
these things, and allow the admins to make really intelligent decisions when it comes to how they're doing moderation.
And I know I've heard you say context a lot. I know context is really important. And one change that I think is really interesting is that admins are now going to be allowed to consider behavior outside of Twitch when it comes to harassment, as well as what's said on stream, right?
Yeah, so one thing that we noticed, and this goes back to our vision, right? It goes back to that vision of everyone being able to bring their full, authentic selves to the Twitch community without fear of harassment or hate, right?
Yeah, but that was...
There are
Okay,
streamers,
I'm not
as a
going to get
streamer, you're a
hated,
leader
but I'm
of your
scared that I'm going to
community.
get
And
banned.
the words that you say carry a really great weight with them.
Yeah, we should
And so
be.
we want streamers and anyone in the Twitch community
got
for
more
that matter, to
anxiety.
recognize that like the things that you say are very powerful.
I got more
and just
anxiety of
because you
getting
don't
banned
say
than-
them or
than
do
actually
them on
getting
Twitch
hated.
doesn't mean that it doesn't actually affect the Twitch community as a whole. And so to better protect the Twitch community, we are now going to allow people to submit links to content that they feel is hateful or harassment in their reports. So to be clear, Twitch isn't going to be like hooking up to these other systems and doing a big ingest and looking through and like with a big magnifying glass and trying to find things. But we want to give another tool to victims of harassment and hateful conduct to make sure that the admins can more greatly consider that as part of this, right?
Right. And so it's about kind of finding that verifiable behavior.
Yes.
And before we were more limited to the Twitch platform itself.
Right. And so the real key word that you use there is verifiable. We're only going to take action when it's verifiable that the accounts may be linked, that we know from previous interactions with someone that is their account. And also we're going to be very wary of people trying to also, doctor evidence and things like that.
Right.
The admins are going to be on the lookout for that as well.
Great.
And the one reminder that we have for people when it comes to all of this is that really what this comes down to is that we are asking people to recognize the power of the words that they have. And if you're a broadcaster and you're joking with your friends on stream, we want to remind you that you should be conscious of the fact that you're choosing to stream in that moment and that your words are reaching a lot more people than they normally would, and they have the potential to do a lot more damage. And so we want you to be really conscious of this. And one of the ways that you can be more conscious about this is like, if you are joking, we're not saying that humor is allowed, but explicitly state like, guys, that was a joke. Like, I don't actually believe that. Like, that is absurd. Like, we're just having a good time. Don't leave it up for interpretation. Don't leave
Greek,
that wittle
you're
room
fine.
for someone to
As
say,
long
like,
as you
oh,
say
he's serious that
it's a
he
joke.
hates that group of people.
Right.
Or he's
Forsen,
serious that he doesn't think
I hate
or
you,
she doesn't think that
And
group
I
of
think
people
that you have
is
too much facial
intelligent or
hair,
whatever
but it's
else
just
it
a
is.
joke. Okay?
We
Clearly.
really feel strongly that we want streamers to recognize that, with great power.
Great responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
As always.
Thanks, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's just
That's great. I think
it's just a
it's
joke.
always really
Lola
good to hear that
forehead.
we're working on kind of
Okay.
clarifying and getting down to the root of making sure that we do everything we can
you
to
overuse
prevent
it, though.
harassment on Twitch. I think that for me, that's personally something I'm really passionate about. But I know that's not the only thing you came here to talk about today. You
Yeah, we have
mentioned
another
sexual
one.
content is another area. So tell me a little bit about what even is sexual content. What are we referring to there?
Yeah. So to start with, I'm going to go into a little bit of how we think about this on Twitch. The Twitch community is an open global community with people of tons of different cultures, of tons of different ages as well. And because of that, we don't feel that sexual content is appropriate for Twitch.
No.
Previously, the guidelines
I beg to
had
differ,
two words
Kappa.
about this. They said that overtly
It's
sexual
gonna turn out like fucking
now, a lot of people thought like, oh, that's just stuff that's like
football,
people
where
would mark,
everyone
like,
just
not
throws
safe for work.
themselves on
Stuff
the
that's, like,
ground
way over
as
the
soon
line,
as someone
right?
nudges them.
Yeah.
We wanted to
Calls
really
for
provide
a
more
red card.
context
Yeah.
and a larger framework
You're
for
right,
how
yeah.
we as
Interesting.
Twitch look at this, right? So, we've changed the terminology to be sexually suggestive. And so when somebody is being sexually suggestive, or that's the primary focus of their stream, or we think that's a large part of what their stream is about, or what their content is about, that is not going to
Rest
be
in
allowed.
peace, users I shall
So
not
the
name.
next question that everyone has, right, is like, how do you determine what's sexually suggestive, right?
Rest in peace, a lot of
We
users.
wanted to use a
lot of
really
users.
comprehensive framework, again, of multiple different categories to kind of look at, right? So what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at things like the camera angles that are used, the stream titles that are used,
Okay.
content on the profile,
Okay.
what kind of attire is the broadcaster wearing,
you can't
what kind
let
of
Ben-
actions is the broadcaster engaging in. And there's a few other ones that are listed in the help article that the admins are going to kind of use in a way. And so this approach really allows the person to go to say that, like, okay, like Brian has a like joke in his stream title that's like a little bit sexual, but like everything else is fine, right? So that's okay, right? Okay, but now Brian has a sexual joke in his title and is also wearing a mankini on stream. Like, okay, we need to now both of those things become relevant and they kind of amplify it.
And what is he saying about it?
And then what is he saying about it?
You know, what are the reactions to it?
Yes. And so one new concept that we're introducing too is like we're not going to be specifically policing how broadcasters monitor their chat, but in this example, if you don't moderate your chat and you allow overt sexualization or objectification of the stream content, that might be a point that kind of goes into how the admins are making this overall determination of if something is sexual content or not. But we specifically wanted to kind of get out of all of the attention and focus on someone's clothing, and we want to kind of turn that over to the broadcaster to use a much more common sense approach.
Yeah, so the focus is going to kind of move away from clothing, but is there anything to be said about clothing?
Yeah, so we've gone back and forth for Twitch on like what clothing has been. In the past, we've had like a specific dress code, and then we sort of moved away from that. But now that IRL exists, we thought it was really important to kind of address that again, because certain things that would have been against the rules in the old guidelines are actually okay. And I know this is confusing, so I'm going to try and break it down a little bit more. So for gaming streams and when you're doing normal stuff, we're just kind of instituting a common sense approach. You've got to be wearing clothing that's like appropriate for general public use. So like if you're going to the mall, if you're going to the restaurant with your friends, if you're going to work, just like a normal, like it's kind of one of those like if you know it when you see it, right? That being said, like if someone, again, like you have to be careful because like if you're wearing clothing that's extremely revealing or if you're wearing clothing that's not appropriate, it could be used in that other framework we just talked about, right? And say like that's one point into looking at how they're going to evaluate the stream. So then, for IRL, they're like, well, what if I'm at the beach, right? Like, contextually appropriate is to wear a swimsuit. And we are going to allow that. We're going to allow, if you're at the beach, if you're at the gym, there's going to be separate
Yay,
cameras. But you still
swimsuits!
have to keep in mind the first topic we talked about, which is the new framework that they're using to determine if something's sexually suggestive. They're still going to be looking at camera angles. They're still going to be looking at your conduct and the content of your stream. So we want to empower people to kind of operate within this rules in a kind of common sense way. And for people that are trying to skirt the rules, give us a way of kind of determining, of saying, okay, your intent here is to be sexual, and that's not going to be allowed.
I think it's really important to mention here too, because we've gotten really detailed about what's appropriate to wear and all of that kind of stuff. I know that you were talking to me yesterday about how this is not an excuse to, as a viewer, maybe harass a streamer for what they're wearing or comment on their clothing.
Yeah, so we want to be really clear about this, is that like if you think someone's breaking the rules on Twitch, you should report them. Don't actually harass them yourself. Don't actually respond to them. Don't actually put things in chat and kind of try and call them out. Or you might actually find yourself on the other end of kind of the ban hammer, because it's really important that we let the admins who are professionally trained and vetted make those decisions and not try and like make that call yourself. We want to really limit the sort of like mob mentality, because there are a lot of streamers that are in good faith with Twitch that have unfortunately been the victims of harassment, and we want to make, and to those of you that have been harassed in that way, we as Twitch want to say we're standing with you, and we want to make sure that you feel back to our overall mission, right? Free to bring your full authentic self to the platform and be free of hate and harassment.
And be yourself in a way,
And
right?
be yourself. And there's two more things I want to say, because I saw some things on Twitter already that people are being confused. Body painting is okay. Body painting is, again, like if the context is like I'm doing body painting.
Okay,
like,
so can I body paint my
That's another
penis?
contextual
That's the
thing that we're
question.
gonna kind of consider. And also that also
Good.
includes cosplay.
Another question is, can you have a permanent body paint
Again, you have to keep in mind
on
all
you
those
and
other
just stream
attributes we mentioned.
naked
Camera
every
angles,
day?
stream titles, conduct and chat. All of those things are all going to be taken a look at.
So am I correct in hearing that a lot of this is about the intent of the stream?
Yes, all of these things are really about figuring out what the intent is, and it's something that's really hard to tell, right? Like, it's something that's really difficult to glean. So we wanted to kind of create like checklists and guidelines and all these things around that, so that the admins can be empowered to sort of like make this as structured as possible, and so that we can like really make sure that we're making the right decision.
Great. Well, I know that there's so much more to cover here. There's a lot that we could talk about, but we only have so much time here in the studio. So where can people go to find details and kind of educate themselves on the finer points, or maybe even ask questions?
Yeah, so there's 2 links that you can check out. The full community guidelines are at link.twitch.tv/communityguidelines. You can also just search for them and they'll pop up. And then there's link.twitch.tv/hateful conduct policy. You can read the Learn More article that we've created about hateful conduct. And for sexual content, there's link.twitch.tv/sexual content, and that will bring you to our help article that has kind of the more nuanced explanation and all of the one that's approved by the lawyers.
Awesome. Great. And so I know you mentioned that there's a lot coming, that you're still, you know, people are still working really hard to continue on these improvements. What's kind of coming next?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff coming next. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk more about IRL. We're going to talk more about enforcement, and we're going to be rolling out a lot more tools and things like for broadcasters. We just actually released today, AutoMod's now checking usernames. So a lot of people were using usernames for harassment. Now AutoMod's going to be checking that to make sure that people aren't being able to do that. In addition, in the coming weeks, there's going to be some other changes to AutoMod so that you can add blocked terms and add permitted terms right from your dashboard. You could do that previously, but it was kind of buried in the settings menu. But now also, your moderators are going to be able to do that for you. So if you want your mods to go ahead and start fine-tuning AutoMod even more, and there's one other big change that's coming out for AutoMod that I'm personally really excited about. Previously, we had 5 levels for AutoMod that judged on a bunch of different categories, like hateful conduct, like harassment, and things like that.
Okay, if I see you do more than 2 lines of text, I'm banning you.
Now, you can select from 5 levels
Set a good example,
to all of those different individual categories. So maybe you don't want any harassment or anything else, but you really want swearing to be allowed. That's totally okay. You can totally change up how that works. And as a broadcaster, we've added one more thing. You can set blocked terms to private, so that your moderators can't see them either, which means you can put things like your address, your phone number, any other kind of personal details about yourself that you can put there, and those will never show up for anyone, and no one will be able to see them. So there's a lot of cool things coming up.
So ways to kind of protect yourself and fine-tune how you want your community to look like.
Yeah, so outside just the rules, where the engineers are actually building things that will help the community, you know, handle all of this stuff. We know it's a lot to deal with your community when it's growing and growing and growing, and you want to keep a certain type of community and a vibe going. We want to give you the tools to do that.
Okay. Positive vibe.
So there's one other thing that we should cover before we leave,
positive vibe.
The rules
Everybody's having a great time.
And so the rules go into effect Monday, February 19th. So if you are a streamer, you should definitely take the time to go back and look through your VODs and look through your clips and make sure that everything is going to be on the up and up with the new community guidelines. As a streamer, you're responsible for all of the content that's on your profile. We wanted to give people a little bit of time to kind of to take care of that. And while we're not going to be reopening previous reports, all of the reports in the system that have previously been made are staying closed. If somebody goes and reports something that's happened, you know, a few months ago, and we're in this new territory after February 19th, the admins are going to look at it. So we wanted to make sure that all of the streamers had enough time to go ahead and make sure that all of your content is good.
I'll delete all the VODs.
Great.
Okay, cool.
Well, I hope we're moving into a situation where the community is going to be really strengthened by this, and I'm really excited about these changes. Is there anything else we should know?
Yeah, so we wanted to just say that, like, we take our responsibility to the community to heart. We know that we have a huge responsibility to foster the community, and we know that people have wanted us to sort of act quicker here. And I hope you understand that we've done the best job we possibly can in making sure that these updates are going to be the right ones for the community, and we have more coming along. We're going to increase the frequency of updates on policies, on safety products, on all of these things, because we want to make sure that the Twitch community is always a community that we're all proud to be a part of. if you have feedback about the community guidelines, one of the biggest things that we do is we talk to people in the community, and we listen on all the different channels, on all the different subreddits, on Twitter, on YouTube. We look everywhere. If you're trying to talk to us, we're trying to listen. And so if you go to link.twitch.tv/cgfeedback, you can give us feedback, and we're going to be taking a look at that. And as a matter of fact, if you have questions about how these policies work, or how, like, what the future of Twitch holds, if you ask those questions, we're going to be back in the studio tomorrow during Twitch Weekly, and we are going to answer some of those questions because we know we probably, as much as we try to get everything out there so that it'd be really clear, we know that sometimes things can need a little bit of explanation.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're joining us on Twitch Weekly tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you came to join us here in the studio. I know that you've been really busy working hard on this, and so many people here at Twitch have, so thank you for all that hard work. Thank you at home for all of your amazing feedback, because as a community, you are the ones that drive what we do here at Twitch. And Brian, anything that you want to say to them before we leave, or have we got it covered so far?
No, I think we got it. Really proud of the community, and I'm really, really hopeful and optimistic for how we're going to continue to be awesome and grow in the future.
Yeah, me too. I hope you see that a lot of people here care about you, want you to be happy and safe. So go forth, be good, and we'll see you tomorrow on Twitch Weekly. Bye.
Well.
Mate, monkey fucking ass, mate. Monkey ass, mate. Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Oh,
I didn't understand. Do you have to delete your VODs, or do you not have to delete your VODs? Because
I don't know, because he basically said, like, if anything, listen, he said if anything happens in the past, then it doesn't really matter because it's all. But I mean, just in case, I would fucking delete them, Forsen. Just in case. I'm deleting. Listen, at the end of this, I'm deleting everything. Everything. All clips, starting brand new. I'm going to start brand new. Monday is a new day. I'm going to be a new Greek. And, yeah, be positive, you know, positive vibes, smiley faces, all that bullshit. I'm just going to go with the rules, because at the end of the day, Forsen, even if we do decide to go into another platform, it's not going to do as well as we do on Twitch. We can both admit that, right?
I'm not going to another platform. Fuck it.
Fuck that, dude. I'm too.
Before I go to another platform,
I'm too comfy where I'm at right now. Okay, I've got a nice seat here as the face of Twitch. I'm not trying to, you know, become the face of YouTube.
Face of Hitbox, though, I would assume.
The face of Hitbox. Oh no! Hitbox is probably thinking, "Oh, new users, PogChamp." Oh,
I'm gonna go catch up some with my chat now. But let's make a deal. Yeah, let's make a deal. Yeah. If we get reported, if either of us gets reported or something, it's not something that you always want to share with your chat, because they might, you know, spiral into even more of whatever you get reported from, right?
Yeah.
But let's share it amongst each other or ourselves.
You mean like DMs?
Yeah, in DMs, so that we know what's.
Dude, we should make a secret DM group where only the big boys are allowed in.
Where everyone can say what they got in reported for, or warnings for.
Yeah.
Rather.
Yeah, we should add a few streamers into a streamer group. Yeah, we should honestly do that, mate, because did you see how serious they were? Like they said they'll permaban you. Permaban. If it's class for harassment.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your previous offenses and how long it was since your previous offenses.
Yeah, but no, they didn't say that though. They were pretty serious.
Tactics. Twitch will always go by, like, if you've never done anything wrong on Twitch and you harass someone, you will not get a permaban for that unless it's someone high up.
Okay.
Really, yeah, but.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't listen. I've said some stuff. I've thrown some. I've had banter with people. I don't think I'm gonna have to stop all that, because you do the same sometimes as well. You have to admit, sometimes you have banter with people that they won't like.
I do. I mean, not as often, but I go pretty hard. I go pretty hard when I drink, though. I go way more than you.
Yeah, so maybe not drink as much, and maybe we can both change. We should probably help each other, actually, because we're both naughty boys.
That's right. Well, nice talking to you, man. I'm gonna catch up soon.
Enjoy your stream, the rest of the stream, dude. Take care.